we've been doing a lot of talking, but now we got to do a lot of filming so you guys can see. And last time I was here, I had just a little cell phone. Worst video ever. It was only like 720p. Audio was horrible. I think it was the first fish film I ever did, but I did it because I was like, this has to be documented in some capacity. And all I had was a phone, and I didn't have a store back then. It was before I was going to open a store is what was going to happen. And now we're back to do a proper tour, and a lot of things have changed. That's what I see. So we're just going to go. I think this is one of those ones where we got to show all the fish, because there's a lot of fish that I've never seen, you guys will have never seen. Well, I don't know if you've collected majority, but a lot of these fish you've actually collected, you've been working with for many years. So,
Yep.
And if you don't know, Gary Lange is just kind of the USA rainbow connoisseur. Unless you've got a better title for yourself.
Oh, whatever. You know, expert. Everybody knows what an expert is. An X is an X, and a spurt is just a little big drip, right?
Yeah.
So, but I have fun with it. I was just many years ago. I was just like any other hobbyist. I had hobbies. You know, I went to my own club. My club really got me started, and they had a BAP program, a Breeders' Award program. I had done one rainbow fish, and Jerry Allen's book had just come out. The chairman of the BAP said, "Hey, look at this book." I looked at that book, opened up the first page, and there's this beautiful yellow herbertaxelrodi in there. I fell in love and literally had to get rid of all my other fish and find every rainbow I could. Many years later, a missionary from Papua came through St. Louis trying to recruit pilots. He knew I had a bunch of fish, and he said, "Hey, can I come over here and show them your fish?" He was showing them nets and all this other stuff, trying to recruit them. And we got to be pretty good friends. And not too many years later, he said, you know, a year later, he said, "Hey, I've got some time in June. Would you like to go to New Guinea, you know, and go fishing with me?" And I was like a little kid in a candy store going, yeah, I got to go. And so now I've made 6 trips. We probably have caught 15 new species between us. We're not totally sure. We're still waiting on some DNA analysis. And a lot of others that hadn't been in the hobby for a long time. They were already described, but not in the hobby. So there's a lot of really neat stuff here, and I'm trying to get all this stuff down to the wholesalers, the Florida fish farmers now, so that you're actually going to see this stuff in the hobby.
Yeah.
At least that's what we hope. So
I know you've been working on that for a few years, and it's starting to make its way. I mean, people know Gary Lange fish, and they know at least it's tracking back to your bloodline, and so the movement's working.
yeah, we hope so, and we just keep people, don't cross these things. You can certainly put a lot of fish in the same tank, but you know, if you got females that look alike, put them in something else so that you don't cross them yourself. Because once you cross them, they usually don't look very good. You know, that's the problem. The colors, you just don't get the same colors. So you want to start with this tank here? I'm going to be at the Aquatic Experience at the first weekend in November, and I'm going to be speaking on how we collected this fish.
Nice.
How I almost died collecting this fish. This is the Melanotaenia rubrostriata, or the Wapoga red lasers. They look like a praecox, but they've got red stripes through them. They've got quite a bit of DNA, and there are some differences in quite a different looking fish.
Yeah.
Once, or they just act different than the praecox. So we knew they were different. So it was kind of cool to actually see that. So that's a nice fish from New Guinea. If you want to come down a little bit further, then that's my namesake. We caught this fish in the southern part of Papua, and that's Melanotaenia garylangei. So that's a nice little
So
fish.
everyone take note, Gary Lange, because a lot of times you don't get to hear the person who collected that fish say the name, and we're all just guessing how it's pronounced.
Well, what Jerry Allen told me many years ago is when a fish is named for somebody, you say it the way they say their name. Now in Europe, when it's got an I at the end of it for a male person that it's named for, they call it Lange. Whereas we normally, with an AE at the end of it, Travassier, they do Travassii, so Europe does it completely backwards than what we do. But most everybody in America, I is an I and AE is AE. But you know, and I've asked Paul Loisel about that before, and he said, yeah, you know, it is what it is. So we go to Australia now. This is a Melanotaenia maccullochi. This is from Eubenangee Swamp. I collected at Eubenangee Swamp, but I didn't collect this fish. It was flooded that day, so we didn't get any maccullochi, but I did get some nice red ones. So nice, pretty fish.
And do a little bit, because people probably don't know that not all the rainbows are coming from the same place. Like, you know, there's two, in my opinion, two distinct groups. you know, but
Absolutely. You have the fish, a lot of fish from the northern sections of Australia. Australia is a continent, not an island, and it's mainly around the northern section. That's where the rainforests are, and then all the way down to Brisbane, and a little bit further than Brisbane. So that's a good long distance. If you take Australia and place it on top of the United States, just Florida and a few things stick out the side. So it's a really big place.
wow, I didn't realize
Lots and lots of space. So.
size-wise.
Yeah. And the other place they come from is New Guinea. New Guinea is the second largest island in the world. If you take the easternmost tip, put that in New York City, the westernmost tip is going to be in Colorado. So,
Wow.
so you say, hey, I'm going to New Guinea to collect fish. Well, there are no roads, by the way, either. So there's a nice superhighway between New York City and Denver, but there's no such thing there. So you've got
It's like saying I'm going to go collect fish, but not on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
There
well,
you
where else?
yeah, you got such a long way to go.
Wow.
So to get to some of these places, we had to take little bitty planes onto a grass runway. If you're not religious, you get religious just for a couple minutes when that plane's landing, because it's pretty spooky. It's also a pretty awesome feeling though when you land. It is really neat. Lately, there's been more and more commercial flights, so we're getting to bigger cities. There's tarmacs and all that sort of things. The airports are still pretty interesting. They can be one-shack buildings and everything. When we go to many of these places, I don't see many white people, so you're sort of an oddity, and sometimes the whole village will come out to follow us around just to see what we're doing. And rainbow fish, from what I hear, don't taste good. I've never tried one, but they always, you have to ask permission to collect these fish. You don't just go in there and collect it, because that would be rude.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want somebody coming in your backyard doing that either. So we make sure that we do that, and you just can't believe that these silly white guys want to play with these little fish that don't taste very good.
Right.
But that's kind of a neat thing. And we spend probably 1% of our time collecting, and 99% of the time either getting there, asking permission, getting things set up, trying to figure out where things are. So you just do a little bit of time collecting, and rest of the time doing other stuff. So, okay, we've got these fish taken care of. These guys here are an unknown species, and they're starting to fade out a little bit. We've got the lights off them. Melanotaenia species Rawara village. So hopefully we're going to have this one named. This is from the Bird's Head, which is the far western section of New Guinea. And a lot of those fish, after 3 or 4 hours, they fade and they don't get as bright colors. This one has nice bright reds when he's really turned on. The best thing I can say if you keep that sort of fish is turn the lights off while you're eating dinner, and then turn them back on afterwards, and they'll think it's daylight again, and you'll be able to enjoy those really beautiful colors.
When they fade the color, does that mean they're done spawning on the day, or they're not necessarily spawning with that bright color?
Yeah, that's probably what's going on there. They're an early morning spawner.
Okay.
If you want to take a look at this is I've got Australian fish in here, but they also are in New Guinea. That's an empire gudgeon. And you can see that male. He's got some colors. I've got 2 or 3 males, and there's some, and he's not turned on. When he's got his colors going, he's really, really bright red.
Nice.
So they produce incredibly small eggs, and very, very few people spawn those successfully. Usually they put them out in the pond, and each time they spawn, they have like 5,000 eggs, and they'll say, "Oh, I got 3 fish to grow up." That's not success for me. That's just kind of a luck, but it is kind of neat to see it.
Where we go next?
Where should we go next? Oh, here's a fish that everybody knows, but it's a little bit different. So that's Melanotaenia lacustris. These are F2 fish. So I had a friend go back from Germany, Michael Wagner. He went back and he collected. He does kingfisher research, and so he was able to get some of these fish and then bring the eggs back. So that's kind of a neat.
And so is this? My brain is telling me this is what the common name would be, the turquoise rainbow. Is that right?
Yes, the turquoise rainbow.
So
and they're not showing very good colors right now. I'm sorry about that, but a lot of
his head color on.
Yeah, he's got this head color on. But when they really get going, and certainly when he gets bigger, you're going to see some really nice colors from him. Could we bend down here while this guy's showing?
Yeah.
This is a Chilatherina Sp. This fish is extinct in the wild, so he's looking a little bit. Oh, here's another one here.
And did you collect these? Or you got
No,
from
I didn't collect these. We got these back from Europe just recently, so we wanted to make sure that we get those going. I've got some odds and ends in this tank, some female Glossolepis maculosus, And then I've got they're getting big. Those will be twice that size.
Oh wow.
Melanotaenia splendida and ornata from Crater Lake. So.
And are you like one of one person or two people to have that fish in the States at this point?
Yes, yes. I definitely have to get going on those Sentanienses and get those breeding so that we can get those out. We want to get those down to the to valley fisheries also
yeah,
to
so
get
they can
those
start
going.
making their way to the public.
Yeah. It's another goldiei form. A lot of the goldiei are going to change their names as things go on because hundreds of miles of coastline, they would say all these places are all goldiei, and it's just not happening. The DNA is saying they're different species, and so this one here is from Tapini, so the western side of Papua. Remember, the island of New Guinea is split into two parts. The western part was called Irian Jaya, and now is called Papua. The eastern side was always called Papua New Guinea, so it sort of gives you a little bit confusing with them both trying to call themselves Papua.
Yeah.
But
and for those of you that don't know, when he says the bird head, you got to go see his talks. Then you'll know what the bird head means, because I learned that from watching your talks.
Yep, exactly, the far western side, and the whole island of New Guinea pretty much looks like a brush turkey. And if you look at the far western side, you've got this head, and then there's this narrow little neck that's only about 100 miles wide, and then the rest of it, and there's even almost like a tail on it. So that's why they call it the brush turkey. So, and the bird's head and everything else. So.
Yeah.
Let's see if I pull these lights forward, if these boys are going to behave or not. This is another fish from the bird's head. This is named for our pilot friend ericrobertsi. This is one of the, now they're going to hide. Maybe we'll come back to them.
We can go below them and then come back up maybe.
Sure, we can go to this is the party animal, and I hate to tell you that this fish is not looking very good right now. When they come back, maybe we'll come back later and they'll turn on. This is a Chilatherina Bleri, and Heiko's fish, when they get going, they're just the prettiest thing in the world. I have very small fish in here. When they get going, they literally are 4 or 5 inches in size and almost half as tall. So they're just a wonderful fish. And when they get their colors going, they just don't stop. So
you just got to wait a couple of years.
Yep.
That's
wait a little bit longer for these to get going, and maybe this afternoon, and we got the light on here a little bit later, they'll start showing their colors.
Yeah.
This is a fish that Heiko collected that was called Melanotaenia species Aru2, and you can see that male starting to get some decent color on him.
So let me interject real quick. When they say that RU2, does that mean the same collection point as like that Pseudomogil RU2?
I don't know. I think he was just saying this is his second Melanotaenia that he collected. He had RU from 1 and RU2. I don't think they were collected from the exact same area.
Okay.
But this one now is Melanotaenia picta. So that does have a species name. Jerry Allen just named it. Oh, look at that male. Can you see him switching his colors off when he goes on and off and everything? We've already had the lights on a few hours. Sometimes he'll be good sometimes through the entire day, but he's not showing as good a colors as he can, so that's a pretty nice one. Over here is another Melanotaenia from the Aru Islands, also Melanotaenia Aru4. And this one has goldiei DNA in it, and this one, when they measured it, was more like trifasciata DNA, so that's kind of a neat thing. There's
similar, yeah.
But it's a fatter and wider fish, but definitely different. Hopefully they'll get a name for that one soon. Should have pulled all these lights forward before. This is Melanotaenia vanheurni from Bowie Village. Just have to do is read the tag. In a way, they look like affinis, but they're definitely different. And these have much more red in them. Now, the vanheurni had been known for a while, but they weren't in the hobby. So this was one fish that just hadn't been in the hobby, and I think Heiko brought some back in the 80s, but they pretty well disappeared. They weren't near as pretty as this fish, but really really a beautiful fish. The fish up here, Chilatherina Axelrodi, and they're starting to get a little bit excited. Once the light's been on them for a while, they'll actually turn black with those nice yellow fins and everything. And when they get going, when they start their party, they are really pretty. They throw really small eggs. This is probably the slowest growing rainbow fish of all. But
they already go slow enough.
Yeah. Yeah. When these get going, they make the boesemani look like a fast growing fish, and that's pretty slow growing. But you can see those stripes get going, and they literally start turning black as they get more excited. So come on.
It's almost like tiger striping.
Yeah, they really are. They really are beautiful, but it just takes a lot of work and a lot of effort to get anything out. And that's one fish I don't know if it's going to go commercial or not. It's just
because it's such a long grow out.
It's a long grow out. So I don't know. Maybe we'll take them down to Florida and see if sometimes you get them in those pond conditions. They do better. So
that's a good point.
We'll see if we can get the big. There is a big Dority eye in here. All we have right now is the. Okay. Are you scared? Come on. Sometimes rainbow fish do that. They say, "Oh, there's somebody else in the fish room besides me."
Yeah.
This is named for my missionary friend Dan Dority. So this was the fish he came to my fish room to see in the first place when we first became friends. So and Buddy's hiding. So come on out. It's like your dog or your cat. You all want to show it off to somebody, and then they go and do something like that.
Hopefully Jimmy was able to sit here long enough and get that video.
Okay, what do we do here? Let's start from the top here since this fish is in front. Notice the red pectorals on that thing. It could be a Chilatherina fasciata variety, but we're hoping and we're thinking the way and the place we found in it that it's not going to be fasciata. So we're calling it Chilatherina species awalem because that's the river that we caught it in, Kali awalem, and it's got a lot of blues in it. But I really like those red pectorals. That really looks neat. But you can see how this fish is kind of red, this fish is kind of blue, and you see the well, that's a female there. But this fish, they'll turn those colors. They go from one color to the back. They go back and forth. So I know one of the nicknames of the fasciata was chameleon rainbow, and these do the same thing. They'll change colors and go back and forth. But all of a sudden you have a blue fish and then you have a red fish and it goes back and forth. So lots of neat little things down there. But again, that's a Papuan fish, and that's one that we collected. So let's go down to the very bottom tank here. This is one of everybody's favorites when you get the right thing.
Oh wow!
We've got a very old male here, but here's some nice colors. That guy's getting a little bit on the old side, but Melanotaenia, trifasciata, goiter river. But you can see that's what the rich red colors are.
Beautiful fish.
They've been doing some fighting. This guy here's got a hole in his fin even and everything. So gonna have to get working on those to make sure that I don't end up losing those fish. But the good goiter river looks like that, and that's what you should see. And unfortunately, in the hobby, there's a lot of stuff that's I
feel like you're hoping for that fish, like it's not even colored up yet. You're going, oh yeah,
that's about what you see, and that's I think that's a female. So that's usually what you see in the store, and they never have the bright reds. There now more and more people getting them out there, but that's a difficult thing. Just got a tank of odds and ends here, so I'm not sure there's anything grow out that I use. So. More Chilatherina awalems are in there, so when they're young, they don't look spectacular. So you just have to be patient and wait.
Feed them and clean them.
Feed them and clean them. Feed them and clean them, and eventually they'll get there. Let's see is there anybody here and I did clean this tank, so I apologize.
Oh, that's all right.
These are Melanotaenia sexlineata from Tababul. So see the red lips on those things?
Wow.
So they've got those cute little red lips on them. So
that's crazy.
These guys have,
they almost have like golden wonder achille, like that rainbowish scales.
And you see him, he's turned his colors. I've been abusing my fish and not doing my weekly water changes because I've been out of the country collecting fish in New Guinea again and playing at the catalysm and just not spending as much time as I should on fish. The top tank here, this is one of my favorite fish. This is a Chilatherina alleni from the Wapoga. This is the one where we had to take the outrigger over the ocean from Nabi Ray, over the ocean for 8 hours. We stayed at the chief's. Wow. We stayed at the boatman's village overnight, and then went up the Wapoga River, past the guys that were doing gold mining with their guns, saying go the other direction, which is the direction we wanted to go anyway. The gold miners destroyed the streams they were in with putting mercury and cyanide in there, so we're glad they didn't get to this stream. We're collecting the Wapoga red laser, and this was one of our target fish. But what happened was we went and collected this fish. We got everything in our pack. The captain said, make sure you be back by the boat by noon because I want to leave at that point so we can get back to everything. We got back to the boat way before noon, and he wasn't there. And the Papuan that was with us said, oh, the captain said if the water level dropped a lot, he was going to have to leave because this is an outrigger. So it's 14, 15 foot wide. We had just barely gotten to this spot as it was. Well, we could see the water level had dropped like almost a foot. So we were, oh man, I'm not going to pay this guy, only half the money for leaving us here.
Yeah.
But then we realized, we found out later that it took him, he had to take the motors, and his helper that was with him had to take the motors off the boat twice, 2 outboard motors, and to shove it over all the sandbars because the water level had dropped that low. So if they had waited for us, we may have all gotten stuck. So I'm kind of glad we had, but we had to walk through the woods for 5.5 hours to catch up with the boat. So
no wonder you almost died.
Yeah, yeah. When you only had like half a quart of water with you because you were only going to go out for 3 hours. Why carry a gallon of water with you? So
that's a good tip. Bring more than you know you're going to need.
Yep. And this was one of those times when the mosquitoes were so bad. I was laughing at the guy's neck in front of me that was walking in front of me. His neck was just covered. It looked like alligator skin. And laughing at him going, oh yeah, I know my neck is the same way, but I don't feel it at all because the thorns that are digging into my ankles are worse. It's a worse pain than that. So it was one of those things. I hope you appreciate the beauty of this fish because it took a lot of craziness to bring the fish back. Yeah, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And I swear these fish are not moving very fast. Most of the time they're just, there we go. Here, we can get some
super
moving.
Active,
They're like a rainbow fish on cappuccino. They just really get going, but usually they're swimming back and forth and just going crazy. I guess I pulled the lights up and they got them a little bit perturbed, but they've got nice bright colors. Okay, let's go here. Here's the fish that started it all for me, and they're getting a little bit long in the tooth, but this is the Melanotaenia herbertaxelrodi. We might have somebody under 12, so I can't tell you what I really call this fish because I don't like herbertaxelrod. But he did fund Jerry Allen's trip to New Guinea to actually collect this fish. This was from Papua New Guinea, so the eastern side. But it gets a little bit bigger than this, although these guys just didn't get all that big. But nice yellows and reds. And when I saw that first picture in Jerry Allen's book of that big fish that was a 2-page spread, I said, boy, I've got to have some of those. So I got this from Ed Taylor. He was a TFH editor at the time. So I was a silly little hobbyist with about 6 or 7 tanks, maybe that many. I said I have to have these, so I had to find this guy out, figure out where he was, and get my first fish shipment of.
And how long did it take you? Was it like months or like a year?
Yeah, it took me. He had them advertised on something called the ARA, which was American Rainbowfish Association, which is now defunct. But they were there, and but here it was. I knew he had them. He got them from the right sources and everything. That was, and these were not even in the hobby any place, but he was just selling some of those. So I had to figure out where the post office, the airport post office was, all these things, because it's kind of hidden. But you're getting my first airport to airport shipment. That was pretty cool and fun. So this fish certainly has a special place in my heart because it was what I call my first exotic rainbow.
Yeah.
Now this boy here, hopefully this will show through. There's a lot of scratches on the glass, but these are Melanotaenia and Tinjo, and nobody's turned on right now. Everybody's kind of dull looking, so maybe we'll come back.
I think their color is amazing. Yeah. You just see them 10 times better.
When those colors come up, come on, boys. Here, this guy's starting to think about coloring up, but when they get going, they just get blue, black, and nice orange. But these are Melanotaenia boesemani that were collected near the village of Antinjo. So here's one of the spellings of the name. But they don't get quite as big as a lot of the fish you see in the hobby. But some of those have been crosses too. So I think it's a pretty nice fish. We can go over here and see a little bit better. We can see like an F3 population of these fish over here.
I always show off my sticker. He's actually been to my store.
Yep.
A couple times, I think, maybe.
Yep, I put a lot of my favorite stickers that I've had from different places. So. Oh yeah.
Freight cock spawning, huh?
Yep. Yep, that's always fun to.
And we were moving to more boesemani up there. Was that?
We've got the boesemani up here, but this is the Antinjo from Lake Antinjo. But that is more like what the colors are supposed to be.
Wow, that is.
Look at those colors.
Wow.
Look at those colors.
It's almost
going-
like checkerboard, like it's
Yeah.
black and white
Yeah,
and an orange.
you'll get
almost.
those stripes, and originally they saw a lot of the stripes, even in the Ayamaro lake. You'd see the stripes, but the Ayamaro was more of an orangish, yellowish orange color versus that deep blue. Come on up, come on up, boy. Come on up, pose for the camera. And there's the other male that's in there. He's even looking good right now.
Yeah.
So those water changes last night paid off. So, and they should be in a bigger tank. So this is a no-no. Don't do as I say, not as I do. These fish should be in at least a 2-foot tank. So the 6 of them. So, but the Antinjos, the Ooters, they only get about 4 inches. So these are now commercially available through Seagrass and Valley Fisheries, and that's the one thing some people are saying. I really like those dull-colored 5.5-inch fish, and I go, why would you want that when you can get a fish like this that's going to do good in a 2-foot tank or a 3-foot tank, just quite nicely. So I don't know what's going on there. I guess I'm going to have to give them some trouble about that.
Yeah, who knows?
It's pretty. I like
I'll
pretty.
take color,
I
yeah.
take color any day.
Yeah.
We went back and collected the fish that's in the fish hobby right now, and they're quite small. If you can get past the light there, that's from the Ayamaro lake, so it has a little bit more yellow on it. We'll see what, and they're spawning. They're producing viable eggs at that size, which is kind of interesting. But that's the way boesemani always are. They're very precocious, and they spawn at a very young age. So and we'll see. And if that looks better than what's already available, we'll give them a second choice. That way they can have more of a yellow fish.
That's awesome.
Can you see these lights with this, or do I need to turn
it's
this
fine.
off? Okay. This is another goiter river type, but from the Bleher River. So it's I think several. I can't remember how many miles away. I didn't collect it from Australia again though. Come on, boys. You can see there's 2 males in there, but this one actually the red is almost a little bit redder than Goiter River, if you can believe that. So they definitely need to get out of that and get into a bigger tank. This next one here is looking. I took all my flashlights out of the room. This is Glossolepis maculosus. You can see they've got some nice yellow and orange colors, and I'm about ready to move these out to a bigger tank. They need to be moved into a bigger tank, but.
And
That's
they
a fairly
unique
fairly
for a
rare,
rainbow,
yes.
I think.
Yes, they're really a neat fish. They're a small Glossolepis, so I think that's kind of interesting.
So they're only gonna get like 3.5 inches in or so, or
Only about that big, maybe 3 inches at most.
Okay.
They're just a nice small fish. So this is what everybody should have when you're keeping rare rainbow fish. This is a CYA tank. Cover your you know what, because if something happens in one of the other tanks, they're there to provide some backup. This guy here, this blue one here, is Melanotaenia syngernos. This guy here is Melanotaenia laticlavia, some young fish growing up with that. This one here is Glossolepis cabaya. These here are little baby Glossolepis multisquamata. This is what I call my red-eyed dragon. Those will get that big, and those fins. That's not from fighting. That's the way they get really raggedy eye. Now you look at this fish and go, ooh, is that a garylangei? No, and right now he's not showing his color, but that's a Melanotaenia ogilvii. Now you see the stripes in that, and you saw the stripes in the garylangei, and you'll see stripes in the maccullochi, which, the maccullochi say they're all from the same tribe, so the DNA-wise, they all kind of fit together. Many years ago, way before I was born, Australia and New Guinea were landmass were all together, so some of those streams from New Guinea flowed down into Australia. The fish that's named for me, the garylangei, the closest relative, actually comes from the Northern Territory, which is an unknown fish from Burton Creek that was found there not too many years ago. The other fish in here that's kind of interesting, and it's supposed to be their tank, is the Chilatherina fasciata from Fowey Village. So that was one of the first fish that I collected. That's about the 4th generation now.
What is this fish back here that keeps catching my eye? Like it's only got color on the back half of it. It's coming right up front, right here. Yeah.
Oh, this one here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a Melanotaenia affinis paguae. Now it's really important to remember that that's affinis paguae because it is not going to be affinis paguae for long. It's going to be its own species. The DNA was done on that, and and Jerry Allen missed that that Peter told him the DNA was different. The original collection that was in Western Papua was originally named affinis. So this one, since it's different, you know, it cannot be affinis pague. Let's go over to a tank of affinis. We collected them very close to the type locale, and that's when we realized, yes, when Peter did the DNA work, yes, it's different. These are what they were calling the blue affinis, but this is near the very first type locale, and those are true affinis, where that one is going to have its name changed. So over here at this tank, I also have some very old Melanotaenia nigrans. They're not showing off very well, but that's, you put nigrans in a planted tank, they're really a really pretty fish. Right now they've been getting beat up a little bit by the affinis, so they need to be in their, they need to be separated, put into their own tank. So, okay, let's go back over here and kind of finish around the room, otherwise we'll forget something.
That's right.
So, can you see these guys in the bottom right now?
They're amazing.
Yeah, we'll just watch them from here. These are Chilatherina species upper tour. So this was our trip from Sentani to Sarmi. So this was a road trip. We call this, there's maybe 100 bridges that we went over. So 100 bridges, 100 creeks to get to these areas. Can't stop at all the creeks, but a lot of those creeks had fasciata in them. But this was very close to Sarmi, so it's different. The DNA is definitely different than fasciata. I am going to write the description on this. If I don't do it very shortly, I'm going to get hollered at. I'm going to Texas A&M with a good ichthyology friend. He's going to help me with it to make sure that I don't mess it up. I'm a biochemist, but I know how to write papers, but you know, biology papers are a little bit different than the biochemistry papers, but just a marvelous fish. Do you see those fins? Don't they look like... You sit there and say, ooh, does it have fungus? The first time I saw that on big adults, it's like, no, they're white pectorals on there. And that to me is really kind of cool. The first time I saw it, though, I was like, oh my goodness, all my fish have gotten disease. And it's like, no, that's... Fortunately, I didn't start dumping in, you know, antibacterial or something, or antifungal before I realized that. But they're just... and it's impossible to catch that with a flash and still photography, but I'm hopefully that's going to
come out in the video then.
Those males, this is their time of the day to just go crazy, chasing the females around. And I've got a few other fish in there. There's some you see some odd ones in there. There's a Pionifont Creek in there, so I've got to get those out of there and start breeding that fish again, because once I name that, you know, it's funny sometimes in the rainbow fish hobby, if it's a species and we don't have a species name yet, they go, yeah, okay, whatever. But then once it has a species name, that's like, oh my goodness, I have to have that fish. So that's funny. This is definitely one I have to get down to Florida though, because
this thing's gonna,
I think it'll be very.
It's still like everyone wants on this fish.
I think it'll be that way. And Chilatherina, you know, they're just, you put them in a planted tank, and everybody's thinking about plants these days. Rainbow fish do so well with plants. They just, oh my goodness. We've got some that work for small tanks, but you know, a lot of these work great in 3-foot and 4-foot tanks. They just do marvelous. Let's look at these boys here. Pull the lights forward. I think they'll stay good. These are goldiei from Decay, and this may change to a different species name also. But big fish. Oh, come on, guys. You can put better color out there than that. They're nice, but when they really get going, they go, oh my goodness, what pretty color. I don't know, that's probably about a 4.5-inch fish that we're looking at.
It's big.
Yeah, they're nice and big and wide. Yeah, these are still my wild caught fish. I caught these in 2010. So rainbow fish live a very long time. I have friends that have fish that are 16, 17 years old that are still breeding. Some of the affinis pague type. So they breed for a very, very long time. Oh, let me see. You know what? We didn't do all the fish here. This fish here, this is also a Chilatherina alleni. You remember their alleni from Wapoga? That's a very different fish. That's from Sirawu, and they say it's alleni. I swear sometimes when it acts differently also, but that's a fish I've got to get out of there. I've got females in there also and start breeding them again. But just really, really cool colors. A lot of times they have more of a blue and white color, but this one here and a couple others that are in there are really starting getting red in that tank. I guess they're eating a lot of plants or something and coming up with some different colors. But Just a really, really pretty fish, though. So enjoy that. Look over here. Everybody's eyes are always drawn to the orange fish. Those are Melanotaenia parva. So they get about 3.5 inches long if you don't feed them ridiculous amounts of food. I think it's a pretty neat fish. This is one of those fish that can fade out for people. For whatever reason, it seems like mine don't fade out. This is an F2 fish that I got from Gilbert Mabe, or actually mine are F3s. And they've still got a little bit of growing to do. But those, see, the males are orange and the females are sort of that dull color. But the males, when they get burned out for the day, they'll start to go to those colors sometimes. But these guys stay pretty much orange. This fish here is a Melanotaenia species, Pianophon creek, so unnamed species. It's closely related to Lawrenci, but Chilatherina Lawrenci is actually Melanotaenia Lawrenci from the DNA work. But I think that's probably going to be new species. These guys here with the little trim on the side of them, those are Melanotaenia rubrostriata from Cavar. So this is one that was gifted to us by our missionary friend Eric Roberts. He also gifted that other fish back there to Eric Roberts. Maybe he'll turn on. We can take a better picture of him later. But he gifted that fish to us a few years ago. But these fish will literally get to be 5.5 inches long, so they can grow. Wow. They can grow quite big.
They got that same kind of fringe, like fin in a fin.
It doesn't fringe too much. These guys actually that actually is from fighting.
Oh, okay.
But it does get that nice bright white, and you can see that white all over the place, and that kind of gets people excited. Let me see. I think those are really the two main fish that we've got in there, and some of the Pianophon creek, which aren't turned on right now. So they just. Do we miss? I guess we really didn't miss anything in there. We've got those all taken care of. We got these. 2015 trip was not the best in the world. We didn't find anything really, really exciting, but we found in the finis type. We're still waiting on the DNA, this deeper DNA analysis. So we've got this guy here. Let me see, what is that? That's another Pianophon creek type. So whether it's Lawrenci or something else. And this fish is a Chilatherina, and we've got males and females in there. But here you see this nice, beautiful, ugly fish. That definitely is a new species. So you look at it and go, okay, well, yeah, okay, write the description and be done with it. It's one of those things that there are ugly fish there. There's some awfully ugly fasciatas too that are just gray and show no color at all, but some are so beautiful. So it is good to know location. Here's a new, I think this is a new species. You see the yellow in that. We just collected this one from Kalipatui. Yeah. It's got yellow in it and blues, and they get to be about 4 inches. So you never bring back big fish. You only bring back little bitty fish when you're trying to.
If you want to get them back alive.
Yeah, you want to get them back alive. So, this is a cute little goby, and I'm having a brain fart right now. Put that on the front cover of TFH many years ago. I've got a male and female, and trying to get them going. Maybe we'll do a B-roll later, and I'll remember the name.
Sure.
And these are also fish from Kalisemen. So again, a finis-like fish, but we're waiting. When they get big, they're very, very, very beautiful. But those guys are growing up. Just odds and ends there. I've got a couple of Dority in there. Oh, look at that strange rainbow fish. So, and some other some other rubrostriata that are getting bigger. Got a little bit more to go. Down here, we've got some Melanotaenia uchiensis. I've also got some small Wanamensis in there.
Yeah, the Wanamensis look good.
I like these, but again, Michael Wagner recollected those. So I've got some of those fish coming up, but they don't even have any color yet. That's the problem. You have to wait a long time. But that's the uchiensis. Uchiensis only get about 3 inches, 3.5 inches long. Fish. They have very good color. So, yeah, and then there's another Affinis pagwe. So I've got an odds and ends in there. But odds and ends. Got to start breeding more stuff and make more room. This is a new fish, Melanotaenia etenensis. This is one that Heiko collected. You can get an idea of what those colors look like in that male right there. But But these fish get to be about 5.5 inches long. They really get big. The first time I got these fish 3 years ago, I got all males because the fellow collected the big fish out of his fry, and they grow much different than the females. They grow much faster. So this time I made sure that I at least got three females in there. So I have to do those. This is a fish that we collected, and then I lost it, so I had to go back to Europe to get it. It's an undescribed species, Glossolepis gittamen.
Wow.
I don't know if you can see that. And these get as big as the Glossolepis, so they get to be 4 inches long. You can just catch a glimpse of what that looks like. Horrible tank, sorry about that. But definitely need to be gotten out of that tank and bigger. So that's certainly one of my goldfish this year that I have to get out.
Have to
get out and spawn and get those fish out. This is another trifasciata. Now we've seen the red trifasciatas. This is a yellow trifasciata from Papin Creek. Talk the big male to come forward. So that's the only problem with hobby tanks. When you got them turned in sideways, you can't see the fish. And come on, there you go. There you go. Get some colors of, but just really pretty fish, and they get a little bit bigger than that. So you get a little bit more on that. This fish here is named for the editor. Who's since passed away for the IRG, Norbert Grunwald. He was a great fellow, and these are very small fish. Young, I've lost my adults, but that fish there, you can see through the haze on the front of the tank.
Purple on the side.
Yeah, nice stripe. Jerry Allen helped us name that fish, and also the fish that's named for Ron boesemani. So the boesemani, they're both goldiei from goldiei DNA. But on the northern side of the island, that was the first time they'd ever found fish with goldiei DNA on the north side of the island. There's sort of like a mountain chain running down the center, so it's still kind of, there's one valley that maybe they went through, so maybe that's how they got there, but it was kind of interesting. Oh, and this dirty tank here that has odds and ends. I just lost my big Melanotaenia dubleii, but this is Melanotaenia dubleii from Snapper Creek. They've got quite a bit of growing to do. They're going to get about 3.5. Yeah, but you got nice blues. You see dubleii are fluviatilis in the stores, but these are just very, very nice fish. They come from really soft tannic water, but they take just about anything. But just really a pretty fish. You'll find those actually with mellis. Let me see, what else do I have in here. I've got that's a young multisquamata. I thought I saw. Oh, here's a fairly nice colored up Pianophone Creek fish. So you can see there's much more reds in those other fish. Didn't have much colors in them. So again, that fish is going to be like twice that size. So here's the fish that you liked over here. We should talk about this. I think you probably just need to get in there, but the Melanotaenia pygmaeus. So that's the fish with the nice bright yellow fins all around, and notice the color on the forehead though, so it'll get that orange color when they're showing here. Yeah, turn around again for that. Come on, pose, buddy.
I think this is the fish that's missing out of the hobby the most. Like, this should be in every store and everyone's tank.
Yeah, and this is a great one for nano tanks too, because it's really a good fish to have in nano tanks. So it's certainly worthwhile. I've got other odds and ends there, some drysdale rubrostriata and some other odds and ends growing up. So got a couple old.
Yeah, I can't wait till that is commonplace, because I want that fish.
Yeah. At one time, Valley Fisheries had those, and I'm going to have to double check. They had a couple of problems, and they got hit by the hurricane this last time again too. So they've come through it, but there were a couple of times where they had some real bad heat strokes essentially that went through there that caused them some problems, and they lost the alleni, so I have to get those back to them again. So just have to make sure we get this fish back.
Well, at least you're dealing with like a natural disaster instead of like, oh, I got lazy and I lost them or something. You know, can't fault them for a natural disaster.
Yep, absolutely. So, oh, let's see. Maybe we'll get you back down on the floor here and do these two. Will they come out or not? Huh? Here, I'm going to feed you. Come out. This is a Melanotaenia species ungulum. So, again, that was the name of the creek, and the creek was about 15 miles away from the other creek. So that's probably related to the other one, but this fish has much more yellows in it than the blues of that other fish, so I need to get this fish out into a bigger tank and start taking some pictures of it. But I think some pretty colors, and I think a promising fish. Point over here in the corner here, let's see. These are big parva, so I've had these different collection than the other ones. I've had these for several years. That big male will turn sideways.
Wow.
You can get an idea. And he's not turned on all the way. He's got some decent colors, but when they get on there, they're literally like a sun-kissed.
Wow.
Say if I had to nickname them, I'd call those a sun-kissed rainbow because they're just really pretty. But they'll start to fade to that and to almost to what the females look like.
Yeah.
See that male there? He doesn't have much color on him. That's what they do sometimes. But these guys, for the most part, that one male will stay really nicely colored. So it's kind of fun to watch those. That'd be a good fish for a planted tank. Oh, shall we do the cyanodorsalis?
I love them. Most people don't know that fish.
Yeah.
I love that fish.
This fish is it's a saltwater fish. Essentially, it's 1.017 for those of you that are in specific gravity. And when some of those go over the light, right, you can see the blues.
Blue,
it's just a neon blue and that's bright yellow. And none of the males are doing it right now, but they'll stretch those dorsal and anal fins out and just chase each other around in circles, sort of like some of the killifish do.
Yeah.
So what else do we have here? Here's Corey's fish.
Yeah,
I have to get some of these out of here before you go, or either that or bring them over to you from Jerry's. These are Pseudomygil reticulatus. So the males have more red on the fins, the females a little bit shorter fins and yellow, so you sort of clear color.
So you almost sex them like the praycocks, like where that fin.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can see there's a big female, so you can see it's obvious. So on the little ones, you got to stare a little bit longer, but especially once you pull them out of the tank and scare them all.
Nice.
So that's always fun to do. My Pseudomygil expert friend in the Netherlands, Wim Heemskerk, he says, hey, to keep fins, certainly on other fish, to keep the longer fins on them and everything, give them current. So at the Cataclysm, I just went and bought some from Swiss Tropical.
Yeah, like the jet
filter. You see, I've got the jet filter on there. So here, we'll show you one right here. I haven't put the other two in there, so I decided I was going to do that. These jet filters really work fantastic, way better than even the real good low flow air stones. So that fits in the tank like this. I've got it pointed at an angle, so that way it sort of gives you a current.
Nice.
Everything. We'll see how that works. Make the fish swim against the current a little bit. It's supposed to keep the fins longer.
Huh.
He is an expert at growing mellis, and he does a really good job with those. And we caught this fish. I brought one pair home because I'm his CYA. There's an old mellis in here, but we're growing up these little reticulatus. We found one spot for them, but they have yellow fins. They don't have red fins. So we'll see what happens. It might be that the food we're just feeding them. We'll wait. There's another female in there, so I brought one pair home just in case he lost his. But he took the colony home because we didn't have very many fish. So it's like somebody take them home, and then I'm sort of like the CYA just in case something happened. Yeah. This is the Pseudomygil that Heiko collected many years ago from Aru, and they call them Gertrude, and they probably are Gertrude because the fish was first described from the Aru Islands. So everything else from Australia is probably going to get a different name than Gertrude. So all those small Gertrudes. The difference here on these is notice the hook on the anal fin. That's the lower fin. See the hook on that fish? I know it's really hard to get those things because they just don't move, but or they move too fast to focus on. But that's definitely different. If they don't have a hook, they're going to be something else. Huh. So that's that fish. Now, DNA-wise, DNA doesn't always tell you everything, because the red rainbow Pseudomygil, Glossolepis incisus, the smaller red one that came out, the Millennium rainbows, Pseudo-incisus, and Dority, the DNA at the basic level all look the same. But if you look at all three of those species and you're looking for some heuristics, that's the fin counts and everything, you can say they're definitely different. Well, some of these fish, this fish here from their Arutus and this Pseudomygil that we caught at in Dakai have the same DNA, but they're definitely a different fish. One, they don't have the hook on them, and one they're several hundred miles away, but they're not Gertrude. They're not this. They have different DNA than all the fish in Australia, even though they share the DNA. These two, there's way different heuristics. So this is a new species. I'm confident of it. And when I go start describing that other upper tour fish, I'm going to take this fish with me too, and hopefully describe this when I'm down in Texas A&M.
Nice.
I'm going to name this for a famous Australian fish photographer, I hope.
Nice.
Okay, where else do we need to go?
Wherever you want to go.
Let me see. How about this fish here? Because this is one I'm going to have to take to Seattle in the near future. It doesn't look very good right now, but this is a fish that everybody poured a lot of money into to try to help save it.
Oh yeah.
Because this is Melanotaenia species running river. It doesn't have a species in the right name yet, and they're quite small, so you don't see the colors. They really do have some pretty colors in there. So just ignore the swordtails and ignore the praycocks that are in there. But you see the fish that's kind of dull fish with stripes. They get red and they have a lot of nice colors to
almost,
them. So
you know, like maccullochi-ish.
Yeah, but more like when you actually look at them, they're more splendida and then even the uchiensis, because they're from that area. But so they had a long time ago ancestor. But yeah, and they don't get real big from what he's saying. I've got another one way in the corner over there that's from Wallace Road that only gets about that big, and it has absolutely no color. And right now you just go over there and go, big deal. But I've seen pictures, and so that's why they better grow up to be that, otherwise I'll be disappointed. But again, those are fish that as soon as they get breeding, and they're very close to breeding size, they'll start getting eggs out to all the clubs that it helped Peter get that money, because they had enough money to do the DNA work, and now they're trying to take some of these fish and translocate them to places where there weren't rainbow fish before. So they're not going to wipe out another population of rainbows. Nice. Somebody took another population of splendida, put it in that area, and then those fish are all crossing with these. So that's what the danger was. Even in and that's why I tell people in the United States, even don't take fish from one stream and move it to another, because you can mess up the minnows and destroy them. That's happened in North Carolina for sure, and in other places. So just be careful when you're moving your bait around or whatever. So,
yeah.
But that's what happened in Australia. Are we going on to the little fish, the little pseudomagills? I was so hoping that they would do their thing for us today, and they're not. When they get going, they put those fins north and south, those dorsal and anal fins, and they'll spin around in circles. And these are rather small right now. They get another half-inch bigger. But
they seem big to me.
Yeah, they're way bigger than signifers. Yeah. The problem is with Australia, they know that this population and several other of the big signifers, quote unquote, are have different DNA. So they're definitely going to be different species. They just haven't gotten around to describing them yet. So that's why it's always important to keep the name of the river location. And this fish is in salt water. I'm keeping it at 1.014, so that's 1 cup, almost 2 cups of salt per 5 gallons. So that's a lot of sea salt.
That is a lot.
Yep, it's a good amount of sea salt. The cyanodorsalis is pretty much 2 cups of salt per 5 gallons. I'll run those at up to 1.017. A lot of times if I'm just making up salt water, I'll make it all at 1.014. The cyanodorsalis, our little bluefish that we talked about before, that's a bullet fish. That's the easiest pseudomagill. If you can deal with salt water, which is very easy to deal with, they throw a lot of eggs. All you do is feed them brine shrimp. The brine shrimp live in that water. When the eggs hatch, you cannot. The fry are eaten, so you have to remove the fry. You have to remove the eggs from the tank and hatch them separately. But I just put them in a little container and let them sit in that container. Here, this is how silly this is. I put them in a container like this. Put some brine shrimp in there and shove it back under the rack and ignore it, because the brine shrimp live in there. They don't need aeration. They're bulletproof fish, and until they get about 1/4 of an inch longer, a little bit longer, so that the adults won't eat them, then I put them back in the tanks.
Wow.
So this should be great for a saltwater nano tank. I know my friends in Canada are now selling them to the nano tank people. So
I'm gonna have to pick some of those up once I get some set up for them, and then get them.
They're easy to do, and as you can see, I had probably 50 in that 10-gallon tank. I mean, they're an inch long if you step on them, right? So they're very, very small.
I'll just have to prepare when you come out to speak at our club.
Yeah, okay. It'll be easy.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. What else do we have? I lost my female Splendida running creek. Everybody says, what's a Splendida look like? And you see the ones in the store, they just don't have much color. That's what a good Splendida is supposed to look like. It's nice, bright red. Yeah. I'm going to have to get some of my females back from somebody. Fortunately,
I got a lot of those fish out to people. And this is a fish that certainly should be, it is going to go down to Florida and replace, you know, their bread and butter Splenditas. They grow fast, they get there easy, and these are a lot more colorful. So, you know, maybe he can get them once he convinces everybody his Splenditas are better. Maybe he'll get an extra buck for them than the other people. Okay, this guy here is another boesemani. I don't think we didn't do this one yet, did we?
I don't think so.
Okay, this is Melanotaenia boesemani from Cromsa. And the neat thing about Cromsa is they only get about 3 inches. These guys are 2 years old.
Wow.
And the other people that have had them for 4 years now, maybe I've got them in a little bit smaller tank than they should be in, but they've had them for 4 years in big tanks, and they're only like 3 inches long. So they just stay smaller. So, but I think it's got a lot of color, and everybody keeps going to smaller tanks. So this is something, instead of getting yourself a 4.5 or 5 inch fish, that's going to stay nice and small on you, and you won't be crowding out and making the fish unhappy. Other things in here, I've got some more pianophone creeks in here, odds and ends of. Let me see what else. I forget what else I've got in there. Papui, that's it. There's a couple of old papui that I need to get breeding here. Otherwise, I'm going to lose that colony.
So I've got a question I think could help viewers. Let's say you've got a 55-gallon tank and you want to start a rainbowfish tank. How many of the species should they be buying? Like, should they Noah's Ark and 2 of everything? Get a group of 10 of one species? Like, what are your tips for? Let's say I'm a cichlid guy and I've never kept rainbows before. What should I do to stock a 55?
Boy, you know, the 2 of everything, you can. We saw that other tank where I've got 2, 3, or 4 of everything in that tank, and it's pretty. But if you see a tank that's completely filled with one species, they don't school like tetras. They what we call shoals. So they do a loose school. So they'll swim around, but several will just take off. But if you have the same species, it really does look neat. One of the favorite tanks I've ever seen is with the Melanotaenia pygmaea, the little bitty fish in a big tank with like 30, 40, 50 fish in there, and they're just really an awesome creature. But you can do that with, you know, some of the medium-sized fish. A Cromsa, if you had 8 or 10 in a 55, you would be doing pretty good. I know some people get really hung up on, oh, you can only have 6 fish in a 55. But you see, I've got a lot more fish in this tank. If you change your water and you're careful about it, you can have a lot more fish in there. You just have to feed and change the water and be committed to changing the water, because if not, your water crashes and you're going to get unhealthy fish. So just make sure you do that.
There you go, from the expert himself.
What else do we have here? It's one of my favorite fish.
These are amazing.
These are the praycocks. Unfortunately, everybody starts going, oh gee, praycocks should be 4 inches. Well, even the originals that Heiko brought in from a different location were not very big. They would get about that size, maybe a little bit bigger. This is one of my F1 males. I've lost all my originals. I collected these in 2008. Praycocks just don't live as long as the other fish, but they're still going to live 3, 4, 5, 6 years. But that's about as big as they get. But they're just very, very handsome fish. The fish down in Florida, they started crossing them into other fish, affinis and Australis, and they were coming up with these 4-inch fish that didn't look that very colorful. So it was kind of a shame to do that. But and this fish should be in a planted tank. Shame on me for doing this, but because they really look good. They really look good in planted tanks. So you as somebody as a breeder though, you can only have so many planted tanks because they really are difficult to keep up with. So you gotta worry about that.
You know, you've got goals, and your goal is to get a lot of fish out to a lot of people.
Yeah, try to keep things going. So while you're looking down, this is not a boesemani. This is a Melanotaenia angiomarensis. So there's more fins in the dorsal. There are more rays in the dorsal fins than the other ones, and when they're looking good, they've got little stripes down the side of them. To me, yes, they look pretty much like a boesemani. So I'm gonna
maybe
probably
a little more like a lighter orange. Maybe
I didn't collect those myself, but in the fins and the rays, they supposedly have more rays, and I can look at that and see that. But at the same time, I go, is it really worth me keeping that fish around? Probably not.
Depends what you bring back next.
Yes, depends on what I bring back next. So it's a pretty fish though. So if somebody said, "Hey, I've got some of these. Would you like them?" It's certainly worthwhile having. But if you've already got boesemani, you say, "Well, maybe I'll just get something else."
Yeah.
So, okay, this is what happens if you wait too long. These fish aren't dead yet, but they're getting old, and the males are all getting hunchbacks. So I have to get in there and breed those. This is a Glossolepis ramoensis. It's not supposed to look like that. It's not supposed to have a bent back like that. But
just having some
sorry
old
about
age,
that.
right?
But yeah, it's getting old age, and it's got some purple in there, and so these guys are not very colorful right now. But it's just one more fish that's in there.
Yeah.
Fish in this top tank. I'm kind of excited about this. This is a fish that I can't remember. I think Hans Evers collected this one. I don't think this was collected by Heiko, but Melanotaenia ameri. And I've never been able to take a good photograph of that, but can you see the golds in that thing? And
Yeah.
those nice navy blue lines.
You almost got to see it with like light going by it.
Yeah. It's just very, very difficult to get that. I probably should have gotten more plants out of there. You could have gotten better light in there, but really a nice color, and I think really a neat fish. And that's one that I think should also do well commercially. So that's one that I want to get down there to him. So. Boy, have we hit all the stuff that we can see the fish tanks? I think
hit a
so.
lot.
Yeah,
For sure.
should be enough to make you a couple hours of videos.
Yep.
So, you start talking, and all of a sudden you miss something, and go, "Oh yeah, I needed to show you that fish because it's."
And so the question I always get is, how do I get these? And I always tell people, watch Aquabid. Is that as a hobbyist?
I put things on Aquabid as Rainbowfish. So I was on Aquabid for a long, long time, so I got to pick the first name, or one of the first names. So you look for Rainbowfish. As you can see, you don't see a whole lot of babies in here right now because I've got things growing up. Yeah, traveling right now, and tanks are filled up, so I'm going to have some of these species-only tanks double up for a while so I can grow out some things. And everything on the top rack was supposed to only have grow outs in it, and as you can see, I've got things that are breeding in there. So
also, if they can get you to come to their club, usually will bring fish and
bring eggs, and try to, and that's a decent way to sell fish. The nice thing about that is at the club level, I already know how to take care of fish. So often at Aquabid level, I've got people they don't even know the basics on taking care of fish. And when I bring eggs, I know that most of the time the fish club people can follow directions. They know how to raise baby brine shrimp where somebody else is totally confused, and then they just get mad at me because I got these things and they didn't raise, where somebody in the club already knows how to do all those relatively simple tests and can do it. So join your local club, learn how to do all that stuff. That's the first thing, and and then hey, give me a holler, and I'll be there with bells on.
Well, thank you so much for having us. I got to come back every 5 years now. That's the thing. It's just the 5 years, and I'll just take stock every time. Yeah,
absolutely. Things are changing, and hopefully you're going to start seeing these things down in Florida, because that's my big goal. Is I was set up like sort of some 10-year goals, and that's one of them, to get these things down there. I've got a really good, I'd say almost a partner in Seagrass and Valley Fisheries. They're saying, hey, we're not going to mess these things up. We're going to make good fish, and so. Seagrass sells to a lot of shops, so once they start getting all of the good species up there, you can tell your shop, hey, get some Seagrass fish, and get those other guys out of there, and then pretty soon those other guys are going to stop selling the cross fish, and we'll have real fish.
You get pure stuff again that looks good.
Yep, hopefully. So keep your fingers crossed. Hey, if you're not in the plants, it's time to get in the plants. So that's always the thing to do. I'll turn around here a second. See the Singernos. See the guy right there. He was just flashing everybody. If this is a good tank to sit in front of and drink a beer or your favorite beverage and just sort of chill out and watch the fish do their thing.
Is this a 75? Yeah, it's a 75. Looks like.
Yeah, I've got two 75s. I ran out of room. If I had my druthers, I'd have a fish room twice this size, but then I'd almost have to hire somebody to clean the fish tanks.
I thought of one more tank we could see. Your big planted tank.
Sure, go do that. Okay, the planted tank. This is a tank that I just have some of my odds and ends rainbows in there. If I have too many males, I'll go ahead and put them in this tank. I learned about how to keep fish, or how to keep plants, from a famous plant person, Karen Randall. She told me when I first set this tank up, because I was just going to put up plants in one section of the tank and let them grow out. She said, no, that's a guaranteed way to get algae. Go ahead and plant it with as many plants as you can. Water sprite and the fast-growing plants to keep the algae, you know, call them your algae suckers, whatever. They'll keep the algae away. And then as there are other plants grow out, or as you get other plants, then replace those fast-growing plants. But if you plant just a little bit of it, you're going to definitely have a problem. I've got really common plants in here and some kind of exotic plants. In the front here, I've got the crypt that's in the hobby called Willisii. I don't know what type of crypt that is, but it grows real nice for me. It's got a pretty red color. The crypt to the right of that is Cryptocoryne molmeni, and
you don't see that very often.
Yeah, it's kind of rare. I got that from the Florida fish farm, Tropica. No, wait, not Tropica, right?
Or Fan?
Fan.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm Florida Aquatic Nursery. Sorry,
yep.
Having a brain fart there. And then the lily behind that was from Toyo. That's I probably mispronounced it, but Nymphaea dalbinoway, and I've had that for 15, 20 years. I'm not growing it quite right now. I've sort of neglected it. You keep it trimmed nice and short, and it'll stay at about 12 inches. Don't let any of the pads go to the surface, and don't let anything grow over the top of it. If something grows over the top and it gets shaded, then it'll shoot up to the surface. I've been neglecting this tank, so they're not looking real good. But you keep that nice, beautiful red color, and it's really just wonderful. This fish, this plant here in the center is Crinum calamastratum. You can see that diameter on that's probably 1.5 inches in diameter.
So you're one of the two people that made me get this plant. Like, I have it in my store and at home, and I really fell in love with the plant. You and Mary Sodawasser both had one, and I just really fell in love with them. And now everyone on YouTube's like, what is that plant? It's like, oh, it's the slowest growing plant and the longest wait, but it's so cool.
It's absolutely worth it. Now, the one important thing to do is if you get one of these, is to leave it put it in a very good spot, pretty much in the center of your tank. As you can see, that thing is this is a 2 foot by 2 foot by 7 foot tank. So find the center of your tank somewhere so that you can give it at least 18 inches cubed to move out from there. If you move it after it starts growing for a while, it'll pout, and it just really you're just going to delay.
Yeah, you're saying like a year it would be a sad mode.
Yeah. It had put out a beautiful lily-like bloom. It's a big, beautiful white lily bloom. It put it out, and when I was leaving for New Guinea, so I wasn't able to paint it, try to fertilize it. But I came back. It was in a corner, and I said it's got to have more room, and I put it there. And it literally took another year and a couple months before it put one out. So find a good spot for it. Leave it. You can see some of the babies coming off the side. So once it gets big, it'll produce a lot of those babies. I leave those on until they get, those are a little too small to pull, but when they get a little bit bigger, you just gently jerk, 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 pull nice and slow, and you'll pull it out with the roots. If you snap it off too hard, you'll end up as like an onion with no roots on it. No, those sometimes they grow roots. More times than not, they don't grow any roots. I've got some algae cleaners in here. You can see that little Amano shrimp there.
They're going to town.
They're going to town. They keep things well clean. I don't have many big shrimp-eating fish in here. I do have some of those giant cribs. Oh wait, this one doesn't. I thought I would put a little bit of pellet food in there.
Frenzy.
Yeah, if we put the pellet food in there, we'll get the shrimp to come out, because I haven't checked in a while, but I usually get, I think I probably got 30 or 40 shrimp in here, so putting some food in the front, we might be able to see them after a while. Put the lights back on there. Might build my LED. Oops. Which you can no longer get, unfortunately. I've forgotten what that fish is. That plant is Australis of some sort. Then my Barclaya longifolia, again, like I say, I really abuse this tank. My Barclaya is probably my second or third favorite.
Not many people grow that plant.
Yeah, and it grows quite nicely. Right now it's in the down cycle, so that's why the leaves are having a lot of holes in it. It literally takes up a space about 2 foot by a foot
when it's going. So now it's on the downside. As the water gets cooler, I think it tends to do that. I don't know. And sometimes I've left the temperature right, and it still does it. Right around now, it starts to die back. It'll die back to one small thing.
Do you let this tank fluctuate in temperature then?
Not a whole lot, but
Okay.
it probably gets up more to 84, 85 in the summertime, which I really don't want. But it probably gets up a little bit warmer, and then I keep it about 80, just mainly for the plants. But you know, in a way, the plants in my other tanks, plants are there for the fish. In this tank, you know, it's pretty much the plants are the big deal, and the fish are the secondary factor.
How long has this tank been set up and going?
Oh, it's probably 15 years now, something like that. I've got the clay substrate. What do you call that?
I'm trying to remember. 15 years ago, it was like a contra soil or
you know, but just the, you know, the just the clay soils that you'd buy. And I'm not a fan of these new clay soils because they float badly, and you can't put them under gravel. I like my brown gravel. I think that really makes rainbowfish show up better. I like to have dark gravel.
Fluoride or something in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or laterite, maybe.
Laterite. That's it. I'm thinking.
My brain was trying to go 15 years ago. What would they have been using? Laterite, probably.
I need another coffee. So now you can see we've got ourselves a little band in there. But at one time I had, you know, I'll get 50 of those at a time, and put them in there, and they do pretty nicely. And the cribs, even though they'll chase them a little bit, you know, especially once they have babies, they're still pretty easy on them. It's not like some of the other cichlids that'll actively seek them out to eat them. But I saw some nice cichlids in one of the auctions a few years ago, and so I said, okay, I've got to get those. And I got those and these little tetras that are breeding in here too.
Yeah, the tetras are.
Those, I forget which species
and are they raising some up in here too?
Yeah, those are the babies.
Wow.
So I'm trying to here's some of the adults.
Wow, that's cool.
So and that's one of the things, like when this gets like this and go, oh, I got to clean that up, but at the same time it makes for a really good spot for the little babies to do that. I've got CO2 on this tank too, so but I don't use. I know some people really blast the CO2. I'm worried about doing that to push it too hard on the rainbows, so I don't.
I tell people use the least amount possible.
Yeah.
If your plants are happy and you're happy, that's enough CO2.
These funny little tetras, they're sitting there chasing at each other. They're barely enough. The two males, they're barely old enough to even breed, but they're fighting with each other. But this is another good tank to sit in front of and drink a beer or your favorite beverage and just kind of fish watch. I know one of the speakers at the Cataclysm this weekend said, you know, sometimes you just have to, because sometimes we get so busy cleaning tanks and doing this and breeding that, and just sit down in front of your tank and enjoy it, because that's the reason you kept things in the first place. And you know, sometimes by watching something, especially some of the hard to breed catfish, so if you think about it, you start seeing some observations, or all of a sudden you see some breeding signals that you're so busy you may have missed it. So sit down and, you know, smell the roses, enjoy your fish.
You learned early on at least two sources of audio, so if something is just not working correctly, you're not just like, oh, we lost it all. Oh, good. Yeah.
Okay, that's when you said makeup. I thought he was actually going to do makeup on me, and that's why I was like, oh man.
We're not at that point yet. I guess that's when you know I'm really doing well when I like, hold on, you got to wait for makeup.
Yeah, well, you said something about makeup, and I was like, okay, whatever.
I like how you were like, all right, I'll do it. Yeah, all right.
Well, if it's part of the thing, it's part of the thing, you know. So.
Thanks for subscribing. On the left, we have our latest video. Make sure you check that out. On the right, we have more videos lined up for you, which we think you'll enjoy if you enjoyed this video. Down below, we have the Jimmy of Aquarium Co-op channel. Make sure you check that out, and we'll see you in the next one.